Hello students, this is a tutorial on shading your bedrooms, whether you're doing it on the 1-point or 2-point perspective, it doesn't matter. You could just choose any of the two to do the shading exercise on. And then just use any of the two to do this, the colored pencil shading exercise on afterwards. If for some reason you are missing one of the drawings or something happened to your paper, I have posted on Google Classroom this exact drawing that you may print out. It has my name on it. I know who did it. And I'm just going to let you use this drawing to do your shading exercises on. You could do both your shading exercises on these if you want to not use shading on either of your 1- or 2-point perspectives. I don't care. I just want to see the technique and that you have knowledge of shading in pencil and colored pencil. This tutorial is about shading with just pencil. So you can break out your drawing pencils. I'm just going to use a number 2 pencil. It is possible to get a range of different grades with just a number 2 or HB pencil. But if you have your drawing pencils, certainly break those out, sharpen them up, and get ready to do this activity using your drawing pencils, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is look at this room and determine the direction of the light source. I'm going to think about where the strongest light is coming from. And I'm going to choose this window here on the left side because usually the sun is on one side of the building at a time. I'm going to say the sunlight is strongest coming from this left-hand window. And there is light coming from this right-hand side, but not as strong, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, that is going to determine the darkest side of the darkest shading on this bed and everything else. The fact that the lightest, like the strongest light source is coming from this direction, from this window here. Okay, so let us shade the blanket on the bed. Let's start with the blanket. So the darkest shading is going to be on the opposite side of this window, facing away from the window. So that would be this side of the bed right over here. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to put a medium dark gray. Now you can make this in a, you could use like a darker range of grays if you wanted to represent a dark color. So this is going to represent a darker color right over here. We're going to avoid this corner right now because, you know, the way that the fabric or the blanket is dropping off at the corners, it creates this little cone shape. We're going to ignore that right now. We're going to go to this left side here. And we are going to make this side here lighter than this side over here by pressing a little less hard on our pencil tip. Okay, now we're going to go to the top of the blanket. So we're going to start from the top corner right over here, and we're actually going to put a little bit of a darker, well, not too dark, but slightly darker gray there. And then we are going to transition to a lighter gray, or you could make it simple on yourself and just make it light gray, the lightest gray that you can make of all 3 of these grays, all over the top of this blanket. And then we'll just do the transitions in tone later. So this is going to be a lighter gray here. Now, if all three grays start looking the same, then you can either go back and erase up some areas or go back and darken up some areas. I would prefer that you go and make some areas darker because in general, my students tend to be very, very careful with their shading to the fault of not making things dark enough. So don't be shy about putting down your values. Make things dark. So I'm going to put a lot more gray on this darker side right over here. And I'm going to make this a little bit darker as well. Okay, turn the paper so that it's easier for you to do your pencil strokes when you are doing your shading. Okay, So we have dark, medium, and light. Now let's talk about these corners. If you look at these corners of the blanket, the way that the fabric drapes off the corners, it creates a cone shape. So we are going to shade that like it's a cone. Remember when we were shading our 4 forms, sphere, the cube, the cone, the cylinder? Think about how we shaded the cone. We are going to put a little core shadow, which is the shape of a little skinny triangle, to the right of center, right? We're going to put it on this side, closer to this side, away from the light source. And then as we go toward the right, we're going to press a little bit less on our pencil tip and create a lighter value. You might want to lighten that up a little bit with your eraser. I just have one of those little inexpensive pencil cap erasers. These will come in very handy for this class. So if you want to order a can of them, they're not very expensive, off of Amazon, or a pack of them, pick up a pack from the dollar store. They work great from there as well. Now to the left, you are going to press a little bit harder and then leave a little white streak for the highlight, and then put a little bit of shading from the very left side, the line on the left side, just to hide that line, because we don't want to see outlines around anything, right? Outlines are not good when you're trying to draw something and shade something so it looks realistic. No outlines. Okay, so that's how to shade, basically how to shade a cone. And I'm just, you know this already, and I'm just applying it to this corner of the bed. Let's do that same thing over here to this corner. Even though it's not as big a cone, we're just going to make our shading marks a little skinnier. So this little carrot right here, this core shadow shaped like a little skinny carrot, is going to be maybe a little thinner. We're going to just press ever so lightly for the reflected light area here. And if it's too dark, then we'll just lighten it up with our eraser. And then over here, we are going to press even lighter. Use a little, an eraser to put in a little highlight there, and try to like stick in a little middle tone there too. Okay, and a little bit of shading along the edge. It's a very small space, so you don't have a lot of room to work with. Now on the right side of this little cone shape, let's draw a little cast shadow and then fill that in. Let's just say that this little part here sticking out is actually casting a shadow on the blanket right here. And the same here. Let's do a little cast shadow, just a little one. There we go. And that just makes it pop out even more. Makes it really three-dimensional. Remember, contrast, contrast, contrast. Contrast in drawing is just is the most important thing here. Contrast. Okay, that's what makes things look three-dimensional, is this contrast in your shading. All right, so now let's go ahead and shade the mattress underneath the blanket. Let's say that the mattress is a light gray color item. So let's go ahead and let's just make that look lighter overall than the blanket. Okay. That means this side right over here on the left is going to have to be even lighter. So we will have to use less pressure. If you are not very good at pressure and doing lighter or heavier pressure on your pencil, then you might want to switch to a H pencil or a harder graphite lead pencil. A 2H, even a 4H. Or go back and just make this slightly darker right underneath the blanket area. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to make this overall a little bit darker, just a little bit darker than the left side. Remember, I'd rather have you go darker than lighter with your shading. So this drawing is posted on Google Classroom if you want to use that for your shading exercises. And I am reposting the picture because I've added this dresser and I had not finished drawing it, and it was really starting to bother me. So I finished drawing it and I reposted the picture. Okay, so now underneath the blanket here, to separate the blanket from the mattress, I'm just going to put like a little fuzzy shadow. I'm going to start from the line, where the line is, and then I'm going to kind of fade down from there. And that's going to separate the blanket from the mattress. So even if they were a similar value, now they're separated by this cast shadow. So if you ever want to define something as overlapping something else, like it's on top or covering it, put a little tiny, like at least a thin shadow between where the two lines meet, where the one's edge meets the other, and that'll just kind of separate the two items. Same thing over here on the light side. Let's put a little fuzzy shadow, starting from the line for the bottom of the blanket on down. And you can just kind of fade it out behind the this trunk right here. And the trunk will be the next thing that we are going to shade, by the way. Okay. So let's go and shade this little foot. There's only one foot that we have to shade for this bed. So it has like a little ball shaped or spherical shape on the top, and then like a little cone or truncated cone shape for the bottom. So I am going to draw like a little, I'm going to shade it like I shaded the sphere. Remember, go back to when you were shading the sphere exercise. And so what we're doing here is we're just using all of the knowledge that we already learned. There's really nothing new because we already learned all this. And for here, just kind of shaded the bottom portion like you would shade a cylinder. Now I know it's a very, very little small area, but do your best to create different values and it will look a little bit more 3D. Okay, so I'm just going to put like a little dark squiggly line for the core shadow and make this right half a little darker. Okay, and that's it. It just looks so much more realistic if you shade that foot instead of not shading it, of course. Let's go over here. Oh, hold on. Let's create a little bit of transition in tone. So here where the blanket is in this upper corner, let's make that just slightly darker. And let's put a little shadow right here under the pillow and underneath this folded over sheet here, because this blanket has a little sheet at the top that is folded over the top of the blanket. Let's go ahead and shade that in. Okay. And then as we come down toward this opposite corner, let's go ahead and fade that out. So we're creating a transition in tone over the top, just like when we were shading the cubes. Remember all of those transitions and tones for each side. Let's do the same here. It's nothing new. As long as you have been doing the work for my class, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now let's do this over here. Underneath this sheet, we're going to create a little shadow. All right, it's shaped like a little dark triangle like that. And let's also do a transition in tone on this bottom right-hand side. So if you don't understand the references that I'm making to past projects, I recommend that you stop and go back to the very first video of Mrs. Han's video instructional series and watch it from video 1 to this point, and you will get all caught up. But these are all things that my students have been doing since day 1 of this school year. So we did a transition in tone from under here, under this little sheet here, this corner, we went from dark to light. So over here, let's do a transition as well. Let's go from dark over here, and let's do a little bit of light here. It doesn't matter, as long as you have a dark area meeting a light area. So we could have made this a little dark and then made this light too. Doesn't matter. Because this little cone here is pretty light. As long as there is some sort of a transition in value, or transition in tone, as they call it, same thing. The more layers of shading you put down, the sharper your drawing is going to become. So this is not, when you're shading something, it's nothing that you can rush through. You have to take your time to create this piece. All right, so now let's go over here. Oh, we should finish the bed as far as the blanket and the sheet goes. So why don't we, here on the right side of this sheet that's kind of falling kind of vertically this way, let's make that just slightly darker than it is. Let's say that this sheet is like a pink color or light color, pastel color sheet. So we don't want to go too dark on that. This lighter top part, let's just put a little bit of shading there and go from dark to light. Make this edge right here a little bit light for contrast. Okay, and over here, I think we can do a little, you see how the sheet also kind of drops off and creates this little triangle. So why don't we go ahead and create a little core shadow right here too. I want to make it look like a little cone shape, just like all the other cones. Okay, don't want to go too dark since this is a white or light colored sheet. So I don't want to get too heavy-handed there, and I was. All right. Just make a little area of a highlight right there. Just take your time so that you can do it correctly. Now that little corner ended up being a little bit more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be. Just take your time. Okay, now I'm going to put a little shadow here. It's going to create, I'm going to create this little dark triangle right there to represent a shadow from this pillow onto the sheet. Remember, there's a sheet on the other side of this pillow. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of shading back here and then just fade it out to white. So it'll be really, really light right at this corner or at the edge of the sheet, and we'll just lighten that up with an eraser. There we go. Let's go ahead and shade this pillow now. So the pillow, the closest form to the pillow is a cylinder. So we'll make the upper half of this pillow a little bit lighter because of the highlight, the light that's falling from the window hitting the front of this pillow. And we're going to have that hit the upper half of the pillow more so than the darker lower half. So I'm just going to go back and forth like this. Right around, I'd say about 3/4 of the way down, I'm going to make a core shadow for the pillow. And then I'm going to fade it, fade it, fade it up. I'm going to leave a little light area for the highlight. I'm going to go to the top of the pillow, the line for the top of the pillow, and then I'm going to shade and just put a little, throw a little shading up top there. I don't want to go too dark. Okay, like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of reflected light down here right on the bottom. Some people make the mistake of making that black, but I don't. I want to just create a little area of reflected light where the light is bouncing off the top of the blanket and reflecting on and lighting up the underside of that pillow just a little bit. Okay, the side of my pillow, I'm just going to make that dark in on the very left hand side of that little oval shape, and then have that get lighter and lighter as I come out. It's almost like I'm looking inside or into the pillowcase. You know how a pillowcase is like a bag, right? So it's like I'm looking into the inside of the pillowcase, and it's kind of dark and shady inside there. Okay. So that's how I'm going to draw the pillowcase. Now there's a little bit of a stripe or piping. I'm just going to put a little bit of a shadow, like right on this one side of the piping, just to make it kind of stick out. Sometimes it's like a little flap of material that's folded over to create like a little line. So I'm just going to create a little shadow for it right there. There we go. That makes it stand out a little bit. Let's go to the trunk next. And the trunk is going to be shaded the same way as we have shaded the bed. This is going to be the dark side, the lower right hand side. The left side is going to be medium, and the top is going to be light. So let's just say that the trunk is a pretty dark colored item. So let's go ahead and make that really dark. And let's just say that the handle is black. It's like black plastic. So I'm going to fill it in really, really dark. And I'm going to make the left hand side of the little side piece of the handle, and the top part I'm going to leave a little bit lighter. I'm going to make the right sides of the handle pieces just leave like a little bit of white there to represent just the light, just kind of glinting off the top of that. I don't even know if that's a real word. Just using that word. You know what I mean, right? All right, so let's go ahead and just make this like a medium dark gray. Let's just say the trunk maybe is black, or maybe it's a dark gray trunk or dark brown leather trunk. These are the kind of trunks sometimes I see the college kids just like, buying at the beginning of the next, school year when they're beginning school and college far away, and they throw everything in this trunk. I don't know if it becomes a handy thing to have, but they are kind of big, and they sometimes have wheels so they could pull it. So you can use your finger, but I encourage you to get like a blending stump or a little piece of paper towel, roll it up into a little cone shape, and use that as a blending stick if you want to blend your shading. So this is going to be our dark side. If you notice, I put a little, a darker fuzzy line right under the opening for the lid to separate the lid from the rest of the body of the box. Over here on this side, I'm just going to put a medium gray. So it's nice to have a very nice line drawing with correct perspective and all the details, and that's very enjoyable to look at, but you're only getting half the information. The other half of the information is the shading, and that can really, really make this drawing of this room look a lot more realistic. So never underestimate the role of value in a piece of artwork. Everybody's enamored with color. Everybody loves color, but value can be just as important. So right where the lid is, where the line for the lid is, between that, under that line, I want you to take your pencil and put a little fuzzy line of shading. That's going to represent a little shadow right underneath that lid. And it's just going to work to separate the lid from the rest of the box. Okay, I wanted to keep a tiny little white line near this little trunk's keyhole here. This trunk has a little keyhole, and most trunks do have a little key. It just allows you to lock it, but it's not a very strong lock. Now the top of the trunk is going to be the lightest surface. So let's just make it a medium gray. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is try to separate the trunk from the bed because they're kind of competing against each other. So what I'm going to do is make the trunk a little darker. So overall, it's going to be the darkest thing so far in this entire drawing. I'm just using the tip of my pencil. Okay. Now for this medium side, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a transition. I'm going to transition from, why don't we do dark to light? So this corner can be dark. This corner that's closest to us and on the left, let's start out with like a little dark triangle, and as we go diagonally across, let's use less and less and less pressure, and until it becomes the value that it's already colored in, or shaded in, I should say. Black, white, gray, that you could say it's a color, but it's really not. It's considered a neutral. You could just say in general it's like gray is a color, but it's really in a separate family considered a neutral. Okay, so let's do the same thing from this upper right hand corner here. Let's do a little transition from dark to light on the darker side of the trunk. Okay, and now to separate the top of the trunk from, let's say, the bed that's behind it, let's put a little bit darker transition starting from this upper left-hand corner right here. That way it kind of stands out. There we go. You see how now we can see that trunk. And let's go ahead and fade that out very, very quickly. Okay. Put some down here. Okay. You could start shading like maybe in a different direction, do a little cross-hatching scribble. So I'm just combining scribble with cross-hatching because I'm not picking up the tip of my paper when I do the cross-hatching. I'm just kind of scribbling in another opposite direction. Okay, so now the trunk is done and it's separate from the bed, and this bed looks like its own little thing. All right, so what's the next thing here? The next thing, let's do the shading of the little night table right here, the night table with the lamp. So the right side is going to be dark. The left side is going to be, or the front of it, you know, we could just say that that's the front of the night table with the little knob and the pull drawer and the cubby hole. That's all going to be the front. That's going to be medium, and the top is going to be light. So let's go ahead and shade that. So I'm going to do like a light medium gray. Maybe this nighttime, what do you call it, nightstand or bedside table, whatever you want to call it, is like a light colored wood. Okay. So we'll make this side a little bit lighter with using a little bit less pressure. And then the top is going to be a little bit lighter, even lighter. And we'll make behind the lamp just a little dark and then transition to a very light edge over here and over here. A little bit darker back there, and then as you come out from this diagonal corner, maybe this corner right back here to the corner that you see right in front, we'll just kind of transition to a lighter gray. A little bit of shading under underneath. Toshi, are you sneezing on camera? You're disrupting my video, Tosh. Put a little bit of shading underneath this doily right here. Doggy sneezes. Okay. Now I want you to look at the inside over here. Because that's the inside of something, the light's not going to go in there as much as on the outside. So let's go ahead and let's make the side here, the inside side of this nightstand, a little bit darker. Okay. And then as we go out, is the battery still good? As we go out, let's just transition to a lighter and lighter value. Okay. Now this side right here, that is parallel, that plane is parallel to the top edge of this table. And we're just going to use the eraser and just even make the edge a little lighter here, just for more contrast. Wow, that looks much lighter. And I like that contrast, so I don't want to completely cover that up. Okay, so we'll keep this pretty light, but toward the back, just put a little bit of shading and then fade it as you come forward. But just keep it pretty light, okay? Because that surface may pick up a little bit more light. Now this book or magazine or what have you in here, let's make that a little bit darker at the back and then lighten up as you come forward out of the dark cubby hole here. There we go. So now we added a little bit of shading to this pile of magazines or this book. Okay. Let me show you something to really make this look more three-dimensional. Do you see this little brown knob here? That is the easiest type of drawer pull that you can make, because a sphere, it's a sphere, and a sphere is a sphere no matter what direction you're looking at it from. So there's no getting it wrong if you just make a knob a circle. Now on the lower right hand side, I'm going to create a little shadow here. It's going to be like almost like an oval, like a part of half of an oval, and then I'm going to shade that in. That's a little dark. Maybe I'll lighten it up a little bit on the outside edges. But basically, this little spherical knob is creating a shadow. And right after I did that, now, wow, that knob just pops right off the surface there, doesn't it? So you want to do it like that.